disrupted.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. Hello, one and all. Welcome to this edition of Kitz Corner. Been a fantastic day so far. So censorship runs amok again, ladies and gentlemen. It's continuing to double down and continuing to oppress, and in new, interesting ways that, you know, normally we should be having red flags, but there's still people out there that are defensive of this. And I remember, you know, as a free speech advocate, as someone that defends the principle of free speech across the board, saying that, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what walk of life you are, you have the same respectful rights that I, myself, and other people cherish. And we shouldn't be, you know, why is someone else's freedom of speech more important than yours, or vice versa? That is across the board. And we already have, you know, criminal offenses when it comes to acts of violence. So that's already taken care of. And I've seen people, you know, celebrating censorship because of, oh my God, what if somebody becomes violent, or, you know, saying the most outrageous responses in order to defend that we be silenced. And the most outrageous defenses possible. There's even people still to this day saying, well, you know, it's a private company's right to silence out people. And that is defensive of social media, saying that it's okay for Facebook to, you know, cancel out people. It's okay for Twitter to restrict your account. It's okay for YouTube to close down your channel if it feels like, because it's a private corporation and can do whatever the hell it wants. Which is a dumb argument to begin with. But what happens when the government is tied into this? And this is what people fail to realize. And who's really laughing now? Because the people that are defending censorship, I don't think even understand this concept. But here it is from the Epoch Times, saying the Biden administration pressured Amazon to censor COVID-19 books in new emails. Amazon removed at least one book and censored others, emails have shown. So this is directly from the White House, pressuring and blackmailing Amazon to hide information about COVID-19, to hide out publication books. Now, Amazon, yes, it's a private company and legally has the decision to censor out people, but Amazon is also a platform. Amazon is also a platform for books and for people to sell their books. Again, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it acceptable because they have the legal ability to do so. It doesn't make it adequate. It doesn't make it the right notion to silence out people's books just because of pushing an agenda and being pressured by the government to do so. This is definitely a violation of the First Amendment. So it goes on by saying top officials in President Joe Biden's administration pressured Amazon to censor some books about COVID-19, according to newly disclosed emails. Who can we talk to about the high levels of propaganda and misinformation and disinformation of sick Amazon? Andrew Slavitt, President Biden's senior advisor for responding to COVID-19, wrote to Amazon on March 2nd of 2021, the tragedy of missive shows. Mr. Slavitt said in another message that officials had searched on Amazon for vaccines. I see what comes up. I haven't looked beyond that. But if that's what is on the surface, it's concerning, he wrote. So isn't it just funny? Like, this is kind of a common trait with these pro-censorship people, is that they feel that there's bad information. They feel that there's misinformation out there, even though they don't know what the misinformation they claim is out there. You ever notice that? Like, they're so worried about all these people gathering up all this other uncredible sources, but then don't actually quote or know what they're angry about. You know, they're angry at Joe Rogan, but they don't know why they're angry at Joe Rogan. They're angry at Alex Jones, but they don't know why they're angry at Alex Jones. They're angry at someone like me because apparently I'm spreading misinformation, but they don't realize that I'm quoting articles. I'm quoting doctors. I'm quoting medical advisors that are pointing out different information. And all I'm doing here is providing all this information to you So you got a better understanding of what's going on out there, and then you can judge for yourself. I'm not pushing an agenda. I'm not pushing anyone to which direction I want them to go in. I'm just saying here's information. Take it as you will. But they apparently still hate people like us because we're providing context. Zach Butterworth. Oh God. Zach Butterworth, another White House official, told Amazon that he searched vaccine on Amazon and found a certain book which he attached as at the top result. Well, he's a bit of a slippery fella with a name like Butterworth. When I clicked on the product page, I didn't see any CDC warning, he added. CDC is the U.S. Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention. That same day, internal Amazon emails showed the company opted against carrying out manual intervention in response to the White House concerns because it would have been too visible and further compound the Harry Sally narrative. Amazon removed Ryan T. Anderson's book, When Harry Became Sally, responding to the transgender movement just weeks earlier, sparking a flood of negative stories because it framed LGBTQ plus identity as a mental illness. The Amazon official said he or she had asked company employees to place a box directing people to the CDC's website on more pages. The official said the official says officials were considering tagging content with labels like Facebook and Twitter do, but do not want to disclose that consideration to the White House to be avoided boxing in. So, in other words, Amazon is trying to save their ass because they don't want to admit that they're being compromised by the Biden administration. And that's why they're not putting on special labels. That's why they're not trying to directly say that we're censoring for misinformation. We're doing this on the behalf of the Biden administration, but really they're doing this on behalf of the government, which is a violation of the First Amendment, which is an Orwellian nightmare. And this is not just Amazon taking part of this. This is Facebook, this is Twitter, this is YouTube, this is all sorts of platforms. This is why TikTok, for example, has been to Congress multiple times. They're so worried about TikTok, not because of Chinese spies, or the fact that it's the Chinese government stealing data, because China has nothing to do with TikTok. They actually banned it in their own country. They're worried because TikTok isn't obtained by the U.S. government. They're not being pressured by the U.S. government. So now they're taking TikTok to Congress and questioning them of why they're not spewing U.S. propaganda, why they're not manufacturing consent for the U.S. side, unlike all the other social media platforms that have been eroded by the oligarchy. That's the only reason why TikTok is being mentioned in Congress and why it's such a dangerous threat, according to Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis. But that goes to show you the direct correlation of how governments, NGOs, and these bodies inside the establishment are overtly attacking private entities to do mass censorship, which again, all this is a First Amendment violation. And the people that are saying that, well, Amazon is a private company and defending censorship in the most outrageous way possible, don't understand this. They don't understand that, and they don't want to understand this because they live in their own personal bubble and they don't want to be conflicted with other facts. They don't want to be conflicted with other people's opinions. They want to live in a happy, predetermined life where the establishment is picking their happy emojis for them and they're just okay with it. They want to live the simplistic life. They don't want to have, the ability for critical thought and analysis. They don't want to be proven wrong. And most of them are, the liberal, academic, higher class establishment that don't want, conflicting books. They don't want to see an LGBTQ book that questions the LGBTQ movement. They don't want to see a COVID book that may suggest other doctors who have studied the COVID vaccine and prove otherwise. Because it's conflicting to their narrative. It's conflicting to their personal little bubble, their little habitat that they have created. But the only way that people grow, the only people that can learn from this and grow and evolve through society are people that listen to contracting views. That's why, I don't agree with Alex Jones on a lot of things, but I want him to stay on the internet. I want to hear what he says. I want to hear what Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro, even though I know Ben Shapiro is a whiny little weasel of a prick and I just can't stand him, but I don't want him off the internet. I don't want him to lose his business because of my personal views on him, because I know there's other people that disagree with me and side with Ben Shapiro and vice versa. That's the principle of free speech, and that's why it has to be a principle. Because if you're not for free speech for everybody, then you're not for free speech. You're for selective speech. You just want to hear what makes you feel better. It's more just about you and your own narcissism than it is about the principle of the factor. So this is definitely a red flag. Even the top comments there saying that this is controlling the masses. It's classic Orwellian. Jeff Bezos, owning the Washington Post and New York Times, and how these oligarchs are buying up the media and also controlling these companies. Like, again, this is the next level of censorship. This is why it's more dangerous now than it was back in the day, because of these high conglomerates that are now buying into lawmakers and now being able to do their own legislator and defend themselves, and Amazon and Facebook can consider themselves an identity. So now if you attack them or critique them on stuff like this, you're considered attacking a minority, stuff like that. It's just absolutely cringeworthy. And considering we're in 2024, the age of the information era, I mean, you can look at the world on your fingertips, and yet we're still dealing with censorship, which is the outright evil of the world, that's been going on since, the dawning of civilization. You look at the dark times, you look at medieval times, you look at throughout history. Throughout history, the longest battle that human beings have ever had is the fight for information, because the higher ups don't want the peasants, don't want the plebes to know what's going on. They don't want to know the real truth, because once the peasants know what's happening, then the peasants can actually liberate themselves. They can actually gather together and create factions of liberating movements to go against the grain, go against the establishment that's hurting them down. That's why you're not hearing anything about the farmers' protests. That's why you're not hearing about workplace corruption. That's why you're not hearing anything about Justin Trudeau's inside his Orwellian government. That's why you're not hearing the truth about Israel. That's why you're not hearing the truth about Ukraine. That's not why you're hearing the truth about the military-industrial complex, all this stuff. They don't want you to be informed. They don't want you to know things, because once you know things, you grow from those things, and you can gather people together to share that information and come together as individuals and fight against a common cause. Fight for a common cause against an oppressor. That's why they don't want people to know. And they do underhandedly sneaky stuff like this. Just absolutely absurd.